Ethan Mallory wasn't the kind of person who believed in wild adventures. He lived a quiet life in Colorado, worked as a high school biology teacher, and spent most of his time reading or walking in the nearby hills. When a university research program offered volunteers a chance to take part in a space genetics survey, Ethan almost ignored it. But then he saw the benefits: free transport to a research station near Jupiter, full medical care, and a generous payment for just a few tests. It sounded too good to be true, but he signed up anyway. His passport was cleared, his blood was tested, and a week later, he was on a transport ship called the Axiom, headed to Station Orion 9, a massive orbiting platform where hundreds of species worked together to study biology, medicine, and interstellar genetics. When he arrived, everything felt surreal. The station was enormous, with giant windows showing Jupiter's swirling clouds below. The halls were clean and shiny, filled with soft lights and strange sounds. Scientists of many different shapes and colors walked past him, speaking in calm voices and smiling politely. It was like stepping into a dream. The first few days were peaceful. Ethan settled into his assigned room, a cozy space with soft walls, a warm bed, and a screen that could show Earth's sky to help him sleep. He underwent some basic tests: eye scans, heartbeat monitoring, and a few simple blood draws. He chatted with the nurses, tall, silver-skinned beings with kind voices, and learned they were part of the Aurelian Medical Alliance, a group known for their advanced genetic studies. Ethan didn't think anything of it. To him, it was just another scientific survey. But then, small things began to change. The nurses who had once acted distant and professional suddenly became warmer, friendlier. They started calling him by name, even when he hadn't introduced himself. One of them, a calm, graceful alien named Elena, offered him tea made from a plant that supposedly helped genetic harmony. Another nurse, Rec, asked if he enjoyed music and brought him a soft instrument that made soothing tones when touched. At first, Ethan thought they were just being polite. After all, he was a guest. But things began to feel strange. He noticed that when he walked through the corridors, nurses and researchers often turned their heads to follow him. Some of them smiled, others whispered quietly to each other. One even blinked rapidly, which he later learned was a sign of interest in some cultures. It wasn't threatening exactly, but it was definitely weird. Then, one night after another round of scans, he returned to his room to find a gift on his bed: a carefully folded robe made from a material that shimmered like moonlight. There was no note, no explanation. Just the robe. He picked it up, puzzled. It fit him perfectly. The next morning, a soft chime at his door woke him. A nurse with pale blue skin and long fingers stood outside, holding a tray of fruit. "For your health," she said kindly. "You are important now." Ethan blinked. Important? Why? She smiled but didn't answer. He went straight to the medical coordinator's office. The coordinator was a tall, graceful being named Dr. Vaylor. He had eyes like polished stone, and a voice that made every word sound serious. "I think there's been some misunderstanding," Ethan said. "People are acting strange around me. I just came here for a DNA survey, not whatever this is." Dr. Vaylor nodded slowly and tapped something on his tablet. "You are correct, Mr. Mallory," he said. "You came for a standard genetic survey, but your results were not standard." Ethan's stomach turned. "What do you mean?" Dr. Vaylor stood and moved to a large screen on the wall. It showed swirling diagrams of DNA, colored lines, and blinking dots. "Your DNA holds a rare lattice," he said. "Something we have, only seen in theory. It allows for universal genetic harmony. It means your genes could help solve major compatibility issues between species." Ethan stared at the screen. "Wait, are you saying my DNA is useful?" "Not just useful," Dr. Vaylor said. "It is ideal For some species here, you are considered a once-in-a-century discovery, a perfect match. Ethan sat back, shocked. I didn't agree to anything like this. Dr. Velar smiled gently. No one will force you. But you must understand, many here already know. Some have taken a great interest in meeting you. They are not dangerous, but they are eager. Ethan left the office in a daze. Everything around him suddenly felt different. Every nurse who smiled at him. Every gift he had received. Every polite gesture. It wasn't hospitality. It was attention. That night, he sat in his room staring out at the stars. He thought about his quiet life back on Earth, his empty apartment, the coffee, shop he liked, the students who barely listened to his lectures. And now here he was, orbiting Jupiter, being watched by dozens of alien nurses who saw him not as a teacher, but as something else, something valuable. He didn't sleep much, and by morning, there was a new message waiting for him. A representative has requested to meet you. She believes you may be a match. Shall we accept? Ethan stared at the message, feeling his heart pound. He hadn't signed up for this, but somehow he had become the center of something much, much bigger than he had ever imagined. Ethan didn't answer the message right away. He just stared at it, as if the words might change. A representative wanted to meet him? A match? What did that even mean? He had come here for a medical checkup, not a personal meeting with someone from another planet. But something deep in his chest told him this wasn't going to stop. Not until he faced it head-on. A few hours later, curiosity pushed him to say yes. He was guided through the station's long, curved hallways by a quiet android assistant. It rolled smoothly beside him, offering directions in a calm voice. Ethan noticed more glances coming his way. Some were polite, others were clearly full of interest. They arrived at a private conference room. The doors slid open without a sound. Inside, the room was softly lit. A wide window showed the planet Jupiter spinning slowly below them, and seated at the round table was someone who looked different. She was tall, easily over 7 feet. Her skin was smooth and light gray, almost silver, and her eyes glowed faintly blue, not in a scary way, but in a calm, watching way. She stood when he entered and bowed slightly. "My name is Liara," she said in clear English. "I'm part of the Xenobiology Council. I've come to speak to you about your DNA." Ethan nodded slowly and sat across from her. He tried to stay calm, but his fingers fidgeted in his lap. "I don't really understand what's happening," he said honestly. "People keep saying I'm a match for something, but no one has really explained it." Liara nodded. "That's fair. I will explain." She waved her hand, and a small projection lit up in the air between them. It showed floating strands of DNA. Ethan's, she said, and samples from other species. When placed side by side, Ethan's DNA didn't reject the others. Instead, it adapted. It synced smoothly. "You are the first human we've tested with. This structure," she said. "Your cells respond calmly to foreign patterns. No rejection, no collapse. This makes you a rare biological match for several species." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Okay, that sounds scientific. But what does it actually mean for me?" Liara tilted her head slightly. "It means you could help unlock solutions to long-standing medical issues. Some species cannot reproduce due to unstable genetics. Others cannot heal from basic injuries because their cells fail to bind with support materials. Your DNA could change that." Ethan stared at the projection, then at her. "So, you're saying people here want my genes for science?" Liara hesitated, then said, "Science, yes, but not only that." He frowned. "What else, then?" She looked at him carefully before answering. "For some, your presence is more than data. In our cultures, a perfect match is not just for the lab. It can also mean compatibility for partnership, family, future generations." Ethan blinked. "You mean like romantic partnerships?" Liara gave a small nod. In our culture, such choices are always respected. No one will pressure you, but many have shown interest already. He leaned back, overwhelmed. So all those nurses, the attention, the gifts, it wasn't just hospitality? No, Liara said gently. They were early invitations. Courting in some cases. Once the scans confirmed your match potential, news traveled quickly. Some species believe it is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Ethan rubbed his face. This was all happening too fast. I'm just a biology teacher, he said. I never expected anything like this. I didn't sign up to be part of some alien dating program. Liara smiled kindly. You're not forced into anything. We only ask that you understand the situation. We will protect your privacy if you choose to leave. Ethan was about to thank her when the door slid open again. A second figure entered, taller than Liara, wearing a dark green robe with golden threads. Her skin was deep bronze and her long hair floated behind her as if she were underwater. Her presence was powerful. I am Vasari, she said with a calm tone. I came from the Calvethi medical chambers. Your genetic code may be the solution to our failing population. Ethan blinked. Wait, you too? Yes, she said, looking at him like he was something rare and important. I came not for the data, but to request your cooperation for our people's future. As our laws allow, I formally express my interest. Liara looked mildly surprised, but said nothing. Ethan stood slowly, feeling like the air was getting thinner. I don't know how to respond to this, he admitted. Vasari stepped forward, not threatening, but close enough to make her presence feel heavy. You are not required to choose, but many more will come. I am only the beginning. And just like that, she turned and left. Liara walked him back to his room, silent for a while. Finally, she spoke. This is what happens when a rare match is found. Many will want your cooperation. Some will want more. You are not a prisoner here, Ethan. But you are now part of something far larger than you expected. Ethan didn't respond. He stared at the hallway ahead as they walked. That night, he sat on his bed in silence. He didn't eat. He barely moved. His screen showed Earth's sky, a reminder of the quiet world he had left behind. And now, he was here, facing nurses, doctors, and now strangers from different species, all with one thing in common. They wanted something from him, something inside him. He had come here for a checkup. Now he wasn't sure he could ever return the same. Ethan woke up early the next morning, but not because he was rested. His mind hadn't stopped racing since the meeting with Liara and the strange visitor, Vasari. What did it even mean to be formally requested in an alien culture? Why? Did so many people suddenly care about his DNA? He looked out the window. Jupiter's massive storms continued swirling slowly beneath the station, uncaring of his problems. He sighed and stood up, hoping maybe a shower or some food would clear his mind. But the moment he opened his door, he realized nothing would be normal today either. 3 beings stood outside his room. One was a nurse he recognized, Kira, a gentle voice who had once helped him through a blood test. The other 2 he didn't know. One was tall and bird-like, with soft feathers covering her arms and long eyes that blinked sideways. The other was short, with glowing spots on his face that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. They all bowed slightly. "Good morning, Ethan Mallory," said Kira in a careful tone. "You have received more proposals overnight. These visitors have come to offer theirs directly, if you'll allow it." Ethan stared, confused. "Proposals? Again?" Kira nodded. "Many cultures on this station take genetic compatibility very seriously. They have traveled far to meet you. I haven't even had breakfast yet." Ethan muttered under his breath. The bird-like woman, whose name was Ilwa, stepped forward first. She explained that her species had trouble forming strong genetic lines. For years, they had studied Earth's biology from afar. Ethan's DNA had something they believed could help make their next generation stronger. She spoke softly, but with great respect. The other one, who introduced himself as Bryn, came from a water-dwelling species. He explained that Ethan's cellular patterns could stabilize their oxygen blood transfer system, which had been failing due to generational decay. Bryn didn't ask Ethan to leave Earth or move to his world. He simply asked for cooperation. A partnership. Nothing more. Ethan listened politely, nodding, but inside he felt overwhelmed again. He thanked them both and promised he would consider their words. They left peacefully, and Kira gave him a quiet smile. "That was only 2, she said gently. "There are more. Some already sent messages, some are waiting." Ethan sat down heavily in the small chair in his room. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "I'm not a leader. I'm not even that smart. I teach high school science. I just took part in a survey. Now I feel like the entire station is watching me." "They are," Kira replied honestly. "But not because of what you do. It's because of what you carry inside your cells. It may be rare to you, but to many here it's a gift." Ethan looked up at her. "I don't want to be famous, I just want to go home." She nodded. "I understand. But for now, you are here, and more visitors will come." Later that day, things got even more confusing. Ethan was invited to a formal dining hall. It wasn't just a meal, it was a ceremony, a quiet one, but filled with purpose. He walked in and saw a long table with empty chairs. Slowly, various beings entered. They were all dressed in fine clothes, their bodies cleaned and polished as if they were attending something very special. At the center of the table was a small display screen. It showed Ethan's DNA pattern slowly spinning. Each guest took turns, explaining why they were present. Some spoke of healing their species. Others spoke of continuing their family line. One alien even read a poem about the beauty of balance in nature and how Ethan's DNA represented harmony. At one point, a woman from the crystal-skinned Annelian species stood up and offered a gift box made of starlight silk. Inside was a carved emblem that symbolized peace between worlds. She said Ethan was not just a match. He was a sign that species could share a future together. He didn't know what to say. He felt both honored and trapped. When he returned to his room that evening, he found something new waiting for him. A single flower, unlike any he'd seen before. It hovered in the air, petals slowly opening and closing, giving off a soft humming sound. Beside it was a note in careful handwriting. "We believe in sharing, not claiming. But you have the right to choose. No one should decide for you." There was no name. That small gesture meant more to Ethan than any of the ceremonies or speeches. But just as he began to feel calmer, another problem began brewing. Word had spread that some of the species had already received private responses, replies. They took as agreements. But Ethan hadn't agreed to anything. The misunderstanding started a quiet but growing tension on the station. Some believed Ethan had chosen a partner. Others thought he was refusing all offers. A few even accused each other of trying to take advantage. It wasn't long before a minor conflict broke out between two factions in the medical wing. Nothing violent, but strong words, heated voices, and a meeting that had to be shut down early. Ethan was called in to speak with the station's council. He sat at a round table again, but this time surrounded by representatives with worried expressions. "You must make a clear statement," Liara told him, "to calm the rising confusion." Ethan stood slowly. He looked around the table, his heart pounding. "I didn't ask for any of this," he said. "I'm grateful for your respect, truly. But I don't belong in the middle of your politics. or your family traditions. I'm just one person. I never meant to cause trouble." Silence followed. Then Liara nodded. "Your honesty is important. We will guide the others to patience. But I warn you, without clarity, some may still act on assumption." Ethan nodded. He understood. For now, he wasn't just Ethan the biology teacher. He had become something else in their eyes. A symbol, a key, a choice, and that choice was growing heavier every day. Ethan didn't leave his room for most of the next day. The station was still calm on the outside, but under the surface, he could feel the pressure building. He had become something more than human here. Something symbolic. Something rare. But no matter how much he tried to make sense of it, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't about him anymore. It was about what others believed he could be. His screen blinked. Message from Nurse Kesh. "Walk with me?" Ethan sighed. Kesh was one of the only staff members who still treated him like a normal person. She wasn't overly excited about his DNA. She didn't bring gifts or make strange cultural offers. She just talked, listened, helped him find balance. He accepted. 10 minutes later, they walked side by side through the outer observation corridor, where long glass panels showed the stars and the distant curve of Saturn rising in the background. It was quiet there. Peaceful. "You're holding up better than I expected," Kesh said after a while. Ethan gave a dry smile. "I feel like I'm on an alien version of a dating show, but I didn't sign up for the prize." Kesh chuckled. Little like that. Except half the contestants think it's a matter of life or death." He looked at her, surprised. "Is it really that serious?" Kesh nodded, more serious now. "Some species are in crisis. Their gene pools are collapsing. Others are seeking peace through shared offspring, symbolic connections. They believe, you're the bridge." "That's too much for one person," Ethan said quietly. "I know, but they don't see you as one person. They see hope." They stopped near a panel overlooking a docking bay. Several ships were landing, more visitors, more requests. Ethan sighed deeply. "I need space to think. But everywhere I go, someone's waiting for me, with charts, gifts, contracts, even poems. I can't even go to the food station without being followed." Kesh paused, then said, "There's a small wing at the top of the station. It's for recovery. Quiet. Private. I can take you there if you want." "Is it away from all this?" She nodded. "Yes. And no one goes unless they're invited." Ethan agreed. That evening, she led him up through the higher levels of the station. The air there was fresher, the lighting softer. It was a garden of sorts, trees from different planets, calm water pools, and sound barriers that kept noise out. Finally, silence. Ethan sat by a pond filled with smooth stones. Kesh handed him a cup of warm herbal tea made from her homeworld's plants. "This place," she said, "was built for minds under pressure." He took a sip. It tasted earthy, unfamiliar, but comforting. "I needed this," he admitted. They sat quietly for a long time. No one disturbed them, no proposals, no questions. Just space. But peace didn't last long. The next morning, Ethan's private peace was broken by a sharp knock at the door. It was Liara. "We need to speak," she said. "Now." He followed her to the council chamber again. This time, the mood was different. Tense. "Someone sent out a message," Liara explained. "They claimed you made a private agreement with one of the visitors. That claim has caused an uproar." Ethan frowned. "I didn't agree to anything. I said I needed time." Liara nodded. "We believe you, but others don't. Two groups have now declared that they will protect their claim on your genetic rights. This has gone from quiet diplomacy to an open standoff." Ethan sat down, feeling like the air had thickened. "What happens now?" "We stop it," Liara said. "But we can't do it alone. You need to make a statement, publicly, with witnesses." "I already told people I didn't choose anyone." "You told individuals. she corrected. You haven't said it to everyone. In this culture, silence is taken as agreement. Ethan felt like the walls were closing in. He didn't ask for this. He didn't want power, influence, or the responsibility of calming alien tensions. I'm not a leader, he whispered. I'm not trained for this. But you're in the middle of it, Liara said gently. Whether you want to be or not. Later that day, a station-wide broadcast was arranged. It wasn't dramatic. No stage, no crowd. Just Ethan, standing in front of a simple screen, recorded and streamed to all sectors. He took a deep breath. I'm Ethan Mallory. I'm from Earth. I came here for a survey, not politics or partnerships. I respect every one of you who believes in peace, in science, in cooperation. But I never made any agreements. I haven't chosen anyone. I need time. I need space. And I ask that you give me both. He paused. And one more thing. I'm not a prize. I'm a person. That line traveled across the station faster than expected. Some species applauded him. Others remained quiet. But slowly, the tension began to calm. And yet, not all were satisfied. That night, someone sent an anonymous message to his console. If you won't choose us, someone else will make the choice for you. Ethan stared at the words, heart racing. Was that a threat? A warning? He rushed to inform Kesh and Liara. They took it seriously. Security was quietly increased around his quarters, and any new visitors were heavily screened. It became clear. Someone didn't want to wait anymore. Ethan wasn't just valuable now, he was in danger. I feel like I'm running the gauntlet, he said to Kesh. You are, she said softly. And you're almost through it. But Ethan wasn't sure. With every step forward, the road ahead seemed to twist further. He had no idea what would come next. Ethan woke up to a soft alarm, but his mind was heavy. The days on the station had become a constant challenge, a test of patience, courage, and clear thinking. He had faced meetings, proposals, ceremonies, and even threats. But this morning, something felt different. Today was the day he had to make his choice. His voice needed to be heard one last time, and not just in private. He got ready slowly. His thoughts raced, but he tried to focus on what really mattered. This wasn't about him alone anymore. It was about many lives across different worlds that were waiting for answers. He wasn't sure if he was the hero in this story or just a man caught in the middle of something too big. But he knew he had to try. When he arrived at the council chamber, the room was filled with representatives from many species. Faces he recognized and some he did not. Everyone was quiet, waiting for him. The air was thick with expectation. Liara gave him a small, encouraging nod. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. He began clearly. I have thought a lot about what I mean to all of you, and what you hope I can do. I want to say thank you for the respect and the kindness many of you have shown me. He paused, letting his words settle. But I must also be honest. I am not ready to give more than I have already. I came here to help science, not to become a symbol or a prize. I want to donate my DNA for medical research so that it can be used safely and wisely. But I cannot agree to personal partnerships or promises that bind me. There were murmurs across the room. Some nodded. Others looked disappointed. Ethan continued. I understand why some of you see this as a chance for hope, for peace, and for the future. And I respect that. But it is not fair to expect me to choose families or bonds I am not ready for. I ask for your patience and your understanding. He looked into the faces before him. We can work together. We can find ways to share knowledge without forcing choices. This is the future I want to help build. After he finished, there was a long silence. Then Liara spoke. Your words are brave and clear, Ethan. I believe they will help bring calm. A few representatives stood and applauded softly. Others nodded in agreement. But then, something unexpected happened. Vasari, the woman who had first made a formal request, stood up. Her voice was calm but strong. Ethan's choice honors the rights of all beings, his own included. I propose a new path. Let his genetic material be used anonymously, with strict controls and respect. Let us focus on science and peace, not ownership or claims. The room buzzed with surprise. It was a compromise no one expected. Slowly, more voices joined in support. It was a moment of hope. Back in his room later, Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For the first time, he felt in control. Not just a passenger, but a partner. Kesh came in, smiling. You did well today, she said. I still can't believe all this happened to me, Ethan replied. You were meant to be here, she said, softly. Not to carry all the burdens alone, but to open the door. Days passed. The station began to settle. Proposals slowed, tensions eased, and quiet cooperation took their place. Ethan worked with medical teams, donating samples and sharing data. He was not a hero, but he was part of something larger. One evening, Kesh sat beside him as they watched. Jupiter's red spot glow through the window. Do you miss Earth? She asked. Ethan nodded slowly. Every day. But I think I've found a new home here too. Not because of what I am, but because of who I choose to be. Kesh smiled. The days ahead would bring more challenges, no doubt. But Ethan knew one thing, for sure. No matter where he went, he would never forget the moment when dozens of alien nurses wanted his DNA, and how he chose to keep his humanity first.